It's time to talk about who in our community has done an exceptional job. Every so often at the open compliance opening ceremonies, we have a bit of an award ceremony to call out some of the contributors around the world who have done something exceptional to take compliance forward. The Open Compliance Summit is at the end of each year, and it's the perfect time to call out those who made a difference. Let's get started with this year's awards. If you hear your name, you are going to receive an award. We will be reaching out to you to get it into your hands, and it will be a physical real-world award. But in the meantime, at least know that your credit has been shared with your peers right here and will be shared elsewhere, like on the OpenChain blog. First of all, I want to call out some national champions. Chris from Oppo, and King from Huawei, and Sammy from ARM. You all win our National Champion Award for 2021. You've done work to drive your local communities into a new state. In the United Kingdom and in China, we have gathered new traction directly because of your contributions. And in markets like this, particularly China, that community traction is so important. Because of that energy, we're working more closely with the Chinese government. Because of that energy, new companies are feeling confident to join in. Because of that energy, we have had benefits this year that will continue into the years ahead. But wait, there's more awards. I have some community driver awards, obviously people who are driving communities. Some of these people get credit easily because they're very visible, and some are less visible. But no longer, you're about to be called out. Fukuchi-san from Sony, always in the background in the Japan work group, working so hard, alongside Awada-san from SocioNext, who has been hosting all of our meetings this year, and in a very quiet but firm way has driven things forward. Andrew from Orcro in the UK, again hosting events in the United Kingdom and snowballing the momentum we needed with this new work group. Haksung from SK Telecom, who every single year drives the community in a way that not only produces great outputs, but makes everyone enthusiastic and everyone has fun. And Oliver from Siemens, who is our busiest community driver, running bi-weekly tooling workgroup calls that have led to a sea change in knowledge around open source tooling for open source compliance. But onward, we have some awards for exceptional contributors. These are people who did something that was remarkably notable in our year, and it's time to call them out. Balakrishna from Bosch. I mentioned online training a few minutes ago. Today, on the 16th of December, OpenChain is releasing an online training course with LF Training, and Balakrishna is the reason why. He's the reason why we have a compliance training course for everyone, for free, forever. Excellent. Watanabe-san from Hitachi Solutions. Every year, for the last few years, she has organized an advent calendar with over 20 posts across December sharing all types of compliance knowledge in Japanese and English. It's the single largest publication undertaking of the OpenChain project. And I think this is the third year. To continue that is a remarkable accomplishment. Well done, Watanabe-san. Gary from Source Code Auditor. Gary isn't seen much around our community. Not because he's in hiding, he turns up on our calls and so on. But you mightn't notice his contribution, which is part of the foundation of everything around compliance. He's the person who maintains the OpenChain Conformance web app. And given that OpenChain is pretty much the first thing companies do when they try to adopt industry best practices around compliance, that web app is one of the first things they want to use. And because of him, we have it in 12 languages. And it works. And finally, Max from TNG in Germany. Max is the reason we have a global automation case study across 4 months so far, the largest ever undertaken. And Max brought it together, hosted all of the key parts, and designed a lot of the technology that glued the market solutions together. Wow, that's a lot of awards, but I have more. I want to call out the steady hands, the people who do stuff in the background, a little bit like Gary. But you don't really realize, day to day, how much they've contributed. They deserve great credit. David Rudin from Microsoft. OpenChain is an ISO standard because of David's help. SPDX is an ISO standard because of David's help. He has been transformative in formalizing open source compliance across the market. Kudos. Kate Stewart from the Linux Foundation. You'll know Kate from the SPDX project, projects like Chaos, and so on. What you mightn't realize is how much she does in the background to connect people, to brief people. She's one of the reasons that the global community is glued together. Kudos. Mike Dolan from LF. Well, I think most of you know how much Mike does. But for those of you who don't, Mike Dolan is the glue that glues the glue. He connects people, he keeps them in communication, and he gets stuff done. He does it for the whole Linux Foundation, but for compliance especially, he's lifted us when we needed traction, when we needed access, when we needed something. He's brought that to the table. Speaking of bringing things to the table, Endosan from Toyota. Endo has been kind of quiet this year, and that's because his main job isn't open source compliance at the moment. He's doing something cool in a Toyota advanced research area. But he's maintaining the OpenChain Automotive work group, and he's doing policy stuff at governmental and metropolitan level that means open source will be understood and managed across Japan in a way that knows about and utilizes standards like OpenChain and SPDX. Endosan is very much getting stuff done. And finally, Marcel from Bosch. Marcel does a lot of work to communicate between parties who mightn't be talking that much. For example, he recently connected the electric bike ecosystem with OpenChain. He's a busy guy, and he deserves credit for his contributions. He may not be on all the calls, but he's making stuff happen. Now I want to move to the New Guard Awards. Okay, so the New Guard are people who are this year kind of coming into the visibility across the community. Helio from BMW, doing a lot of work to talk about what's needed in the market, especially around places like automation. Jimmy from Ericsson, who is now chairing our brand new telco work group. He provides a lot of knowledge, and especially a lot of energy and innovation. This year has been a year when both Helio and Jimmy have become very visible. Alongside from Prasad at Cisco. Prasad has been contributing to our calls, he's been very active as a board member, and internally to Cisco, case study coming next year, he's been driving things like a transformation in utilizing SPDX as an SBOL. Yari, an independent who has been on virtually every major OpenChain call throughout the year, has contributed to everything from the education material through to our playbooks. Incredible work, Yari. You're one of the most visible and active and productive people in our community. Mary from Continental, on a lot of the calls, and particularly around areas like automotive and tooling, Mary has been insightful, has been extremely positive, but pressing in trying to make sure everything we do is practical. And finally, Soim from LG Electronics. You mightn't know her, but you know her pictures. She has been part of the community glue, making the Korean workgroup exciting. Every logo, every funny card, everything like that, Soim. And in the background, she's the person doing stuff like making sure the meetings are edited correctly and all of the schedules, all of that information is nice and tidy and available. In other words, She has become a massive community driver, extremely visible this year. And that's almost it for the awards. We've had a lot, and obviously a lot of people are going to be getting something nice in the mail. There's one more. What we've done in the last 5 or 6 years truly leads back to one person. They brought people together. They maintained a diplomatic and positive atmosphere. They also drove things past old ruts, old barriers, old issues. Doors were opened, connections were made, and energy was contributed consistently for more than half a decade by David Marr from Qualcomm. Lifetime Achievement Award to David. If this event is the victory lap for projects like OpenChain and SPDX, this year is the victory lap for David Marr. He has accomplished what took 20 years for the OpenChain, for the SPDX, for the Linux development community to get ready for. We've transferred from saying compliance is a good idea into having the companies, the structures, and the reference material behind it. That would not have happened in these timescales without David. Alrighty. Everyone who got an award, well done. Everyone who didn't, you're awesome too. And we're going to make sure that you are always recognized, and you must know you are always appreciated. In 2022, I assure you that we will be spending a lot of time on having really fun events, really great conference swag, and really, really high levels of appreciation for everything you do.